news. Steelers Nation, take a deep breath, because what's happening in Pittsburgh isn't luck, it's purpose. Week by week, this team is proving that patience can be just as powerful as any bold trade. While the noise outside talks about reinforcements and big moves, inside the building the focus is different: identity, discipline, and trust. The offense has changed, not just in the play calls, but in the mindset. From an inconsistent unit to one that commands respect, physical strength, intelligence, and a rhythm that finally feels like true Steelers football. But here's the big question: will this philosophy of patience pay off by the end of the season, or are we witnessing the rebirth of a new era in Pittsburgh? Before you answer, you know what to do. Hit that like button if you believe in this new chapter for the Steelers, and please drop a comment below. Would you stick with the current plan or make a big trade right now? I want to know what the Black and Gold Nation thinks. Pittsburgh's front office is standing on a fine line between patience and pressure as the trade deadline closes in. According to a detailed ESPN report by Jeremy Fowler, a reporter with deep connections inside the Steelers building, this franchise has a clear idea of what it wants to be right now: a run-first offense built around physicality, discipline, and experience. But what's truly interesting isn't just that identity, it's the way this team is sticking to it even as outside noise grows louder for a splashy wide receiver move. Inside the facility, the tone is steady. The Steelers believe they found their rhythm, one that has transformed their offense from inconsistent to one of the most productive units in the league. The shift happened after Week 4 against Minnesota when Pittsburgh leaned fully into jumbo personnel packages, using Spencer Anderson as an extra tight end alongside Darnell Washington and Jonnu Smith. That move changed everything. Suddenly, Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell were finding daylight through the interior, the line was creating consistent push, and Aaron Rodgers had more time and balance to dictate the pace. Before that change, this unit was sitting at 17th in EPA per play and 21st in success rate. Since then, they've climbed into the top 10, and some inside the organization believe they're playing at a top 5 level. The numbers back it up, but more importantly, the style feels like Steelers football again. It's gritty, deliberate, and built to wear defenses down. Arthur Smith, Pittsburgh's offensive coordinator, has fully leaned into his roots as a run game designer with tight end heavy sets. The play-action attack that spins off of that power identity has opened the door for Rodgers to pick apart one-high safety looks, something he's done his entire career with precision and patience. But what about the trade buzz? That's where Omar Khan's strategy comes into focus. Fowler's reporting makes it clear: Pittsburgh isn't desperate. They're open to moves, but not reckless ones. Jakobi Meyers of the Raiders is a name that fits perfectly in their system: reliable, versatile, and smart. Yet the message coming out of the building is firm: the Steelers won't overpay. There's a price they're willing to meet, and Khan isn't about to throw away high draft capital for short-term gain. Don't expect Pittsburgh to trade any of their top 100 picks. Maybe a fourth-rounder if the value is undeniable, but the front office is looking at the bigger picture: sustainability, not shock value. Fans craving a splash might be disappointed, but this is a different kind of team right now. Rodgers' presence has changed the tone inside that locker room. His leadership, his accountability, and his chemistry with Smith have brought order and calm to a unit that often lacked both. According to Fowler, the dynamic between quarterback and coordinator has been surprisingly natural. They trade jokes in meetings, push each other on details, and keep the room loose yet focused. Right tackle Troy Fautanu described them as kindred souls, both sharp, sarcastic, and demanding, but in a way that draws out the best in their teammates. And that energy spreads. DK Metcalf recently spoke about how Rodgers has taken charge of Thursday player-led meetings. It's not just a symbolic gesture, he runs them. He critiques, coaches, and corrects in real time. Everyone listens. Everyone takes notes. There's a standard again in Pittsburgh's offense, and it's being enforced by the guy wearing number 12. It's a stark contrast from last year. Under Russell Wilson, accountability often gave way to empty optimism. The "you're good" King style didn't resonate when losses piled up. Rodgers, on the other hand, has brought a level of honesty the locker room badly needed. He's not afraid to tell a teammate they're wrong or demand more when the moment calls for it, but he does it with credibility and experience. That's what this roster respects. The offense feels smarter, more adaptable, and more confident because of it. The mental side of the game, the ability to adjust to coverages, make late reads, or audible out of bad looks, has elevated across the board. The players are feeding off Rodgers' processing speed and understanding of the game. There's a collective sense that they're learning football at a deeper level than before. Still, even with all this optimism, some in the fan base are hesitant. They've seen early season surges before. They remember Russell Wilson's 5-1 start last year before the collapse. The question now is whether Rodgers can sustain this efficiency and composure deep into the stretch. His age, 41, will always be part of the conversation, but so far his command, decision-making, and physical control have silenced most doubts. Fowler's report also hinted at something that could stir plenty of emotion in Pittsburgh. The team would absolutely welcome Rodgers back in 2026 if he wants to play another season. Officially, Rodgers has called this year his final ride, but privately, he's leaving that door cracked open. His chemistry with Arthur Smith, the balance of this offense, and the culture in this locker room have made this experience more enjoyable than even some expected. Inside the building, the idea of him returning isn't far-fetched, it's quietly hoped for. So here's the real question, Steelers Nation, with the offense climbing, the chemistry building, and Rodgers proving he can still run the show at an elite level, should Pittsburgh already be thinking about another year of Aaron Rodgers in black and gold? Because if we're being honest, the idea of Aaron Rodgers returning for another season isn't just sentimental, it might be strategic. The Steelers are still building toward the future, but Rodgers bridges the gap between now and what's next. Fowler made it clear that the front office is already scouting the next quarterback, looking at college prospects and evaluating Will Howard's development. But if Rodgers decides to come back, that gives Pittsburgh a rare advantage, a stable transition period led by one of the greatest minds the game has ever seen. Think about it. If Rodgers plays in 2026, that gives whoever the Steelers draft, or Howard himself, a full season to learn behind him, to sit in meetings with him, watch his weekly preparation, see how he processes coverages, and understand what real command of an NFL huddle looks like. You can't teach that in film study. You can't replace that with reps on the practice field. That's how Green Bay did it with Jordan Love. That's how Kansas City did it with Patrick Mahomes. And now Pittsburgh, for the first time in a long time, might have the structure to do the same. But the deeper motivation behind Rodgers' possible return might go beyond his legacy. There's a real sense that he wants to win one more championship, not necessarily for himself, but for the veterans who have carried this franchise's standard for years. Cam Hayward is nearing the end. TJ Watt, one of the greatest defensive players in Steelers history, still hasn't lifted a Lombardi trophy or even won a playoff game in black and gold. Rodgers knows that. He feels that. And when you listen to people close to the team, you can tell this isn't just another season for him. It's personal. The Steelers are built to contend, not rebuild. Their defense remains elite, the run game is punishing, and the locker room culture is stronger than it's been in years. If this team finishes with double-digit wins and a playoff berth, which is the most realistic scenario right now, it creates the perfect environment for Rodgers to return. He wouldn't be coming back for attention or nostalgia. He'd be coming back to finish the job. Of course, it all depends on how the rest of this season unfolds. Rodgers has looked sharp and efficient, but the Steelers will need to protect him down the stretch. That means keeping Darnell Washington, DK Metcalf, and Jalen Warren healthy, the core pieces that have powered this resurgence. As long as those guys stay on the field and the offensive line continues to dominate inside, this system can hold up against anyone. Fowler also highlighted how Rodgers' mentorship has impacted the younger players, especially Will Howard. The rookie quarterback spoke openly about how much he's learned just by observing Rodgers' process, how he studies defenses, how he communicates during 2-minute drills, how he keeps composure even when the game speeds up. That kind of influence shapes careers. Rodgers isn't just throwing passes right now. He's laying a foundation for the next decade of Steelers football. And then there's the emotional factor, the bond between Rodgers and the city. Pittsburgh has embraced him in a way few expected. He's not trying to replace Ben Roethlisberger's legacy. He's writing his own version of it. The fans see a quarterback who commands the huddle, demands accountability, and plays with that blue-collar intensity that mirrors everything this city stands for. He's fiery but composed, tough but precise, old school in mentality, yet still capable of doing things few quarterbacks in the league can. The front office knows exactly what they have, and they're not going to rush into change. Omar Khan has proven to be patient, methodical, and resistant to public pressure. If there's a way to keep this momentum going while grooming the next guy behind the scenes, he'll take it. Rodgers' return might not just be a possibility, it might be the smartest move available. And beyond all the talk of trades, picks, and future planning, there's a simple truth playing out in Pittsburgh. This team feels different. The locker room isn't fractured. The offense isn't guessing. The defense trusts that when they hand the ball back, it's in steady hands. There's confidence, structure, and belief again. So maybe the real question isn't whether Rodgers wants to come back. Maybe it's whether the Steelers can afford to let him walk away if he still wants to play. Because as long as Aaron Rodgers is throwing that football in black and gold, Pittsburgh is more than just competitive. They're relevant, dangerous, and capable capable of beating anyone. Steelers Nation, what do you think? Should Aaron Rodgers return for one more season if he keeps playing at this level? Drop your thoughts below, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and check out the videos on your screen for more exclusive Steelers coverage. And here's the thing, if you've watched this team closely over the past few weeks, you can feel it in the way they carry themselves. There's no panic in this locker room anymore. There's focus. Every snap feels intentional, every drive has purpose, and every player seems to understand their role. That's the Rodgers effect. When you have a quarterback who commands that kind of respect, everyone around him starts to raise their level. It's contagious. Arthur Smith has built a system that perfectly fits that mentality. It's not flashy, it's not built on gimmicks, it's built on leverage, execution, and balance. When the Steelers line up in those heavy sets with multiple tight ends and force defenses to commit to the box, they're dictating terms. That's how Pittsburgh football has always thrived. By imposing will, Rodgers just adds the cerebral layer that makes it unstoppable when it's clicking. He identifies the coverage, senses the weak spot, and punishes defenses that hesitate for even half a second. And fans can see the difference from last season. It's not just about better stats, it's about control. Last year, drives felt chaotic. Momentum swung too easily. Now, every possession feels like a calculated march forward. The team is playing complementary football again, the offense controlling tempo, the defense staying fresh and ferocious. And you can tell the veterans like Cam Hayward and TJ would appreciate it. For the first time in a while, they know their offense can close games, not just survive them. The upcoming stretch will test everything this team has built. The AFC race is tightening, and every week carries weight. But what makes this version of the Steelers so compelling is that they're not pretending to be something they're not. They know their identity. They're physical, disciplined, and unshaken by pressure. And in this league, that's what separates the contenders from the pretenders in December and January. So yes, Rodgers' future is going to be one of the biggest storylines as the season winds down. But right now, his presence,